Good afternoon. Today, my guest is Alexandra Lescaze, who is the director of the documentary All of Me, which is really quite a stunning and intimate film about a group of friends um, who referred to themselves as the girls, who came together. Um, having met at Austin's Big Beautiful Women community. Um, and they became intimate because they shared similar views about body size. Um, while by some standards they would have been considered morbidly obese, these women appeared to be really at peace with their size and appearance and enjoyed one another's company. Eventually, as Alexandra's film documents, in part because of the death of one of the members of the group, various members' views and life decisions diverged, and the group of friends began to splinter. Um, Alexandra, do you think, Alexandra, is that a fair, brief summary of your very
Yes,
film?
I think the one thing you didn't mention is just that they decide, or if you did, I missed it, but they decided to have weight loss surgery.
Well,
So,
that's what I was saying. One of them, at least, decided to have weight loss surgery, but
well, no, more, eventually, almost all of them did. So yes, it was a group that sort of met through what was called the fat acceptance movement. There was actually an organization that I'm sure still exists today called NAFA, the National Association to Advance Fat Acceptance. And one of them in particular had been active in that politically. And yeah, they came together. They lived in the same area. They had soup nights. They had a real social community. And then when one start had weight loss surgery, and then another, it really ended up affecting their friendships as well as their marriages, as well as their own identities. It is very unusual to suddenly live in a different size body, and it's something that I think everyone mostly thinks, oh, my life is going to be so much better if I could only lose hundreds of pounds but there's a lot of complexity there, and it really is like, being in the world in a different body.
the I remember uh when the first character in the film decided to have, I guess, gastric bypass surgery.
Yeah, lap
That,
band surgery, but there are both
not
kinds.
that,
Yeah.
sorry. That there was a sense that some of the other women no longer felt as comfortable around her, felt that she had betray may be too strong of a word, but had taken a path that was really antithetical to one of the things that had bonded them.
Yeah, I mean, the eating was a big part of their bond, gathering and eating. Um, and when somebody and many of them were not very mobile. When you're carrying around that much extra weight, it starts to affect your knees and your hips and your energy level, and that's just a reality, especially as you age. And so when you lose all this weight, suddenly you can go do other things.
Right. And you
And,
have other interests maybe that you couldn't have pursued previously.
exactly.
Did how did you meet them?
How did I meet them? Long sort of interwoven, winding story, but through somebody who had been at a conference and had met one of them, and she had Dawn, and she had this very interesting history. She had been a fat model in the past. She, posed as Bridget in these
Right.
calendars and books. And she had been the one that was involved in NAFA, and she was such an interesting person, and this other person connected us, and we had several conversations on the phone, and she told me about this whole group of friends, and I thought, wow, I need to come out and meet you guys. I mean, I had been meeting and interviewing lots of people who had had this weight loss surgery experience, and I knew from that it was fascinating, but it's also very personal, and not everybody wants their life to be in front of a camera and, all of this stuff revealed. So it took a while before I sort of met them and realized that they were game and that this was going to be an interesting group to follow over time.
Which leads perfectly to my next question, which is you are dealing with something very intimate and personal choice. H- did for aspiring filmmakers, did you have a strategy for how you would gain their trust?
I don't know if I had a strategy per se in that sense, but I knew that I got very connected to them. I mean, we built a relationship of trust. We spent a lot of time together. We spent a lot of time together talking. We really got to know each other, and I think it that mutual trust is what it's all about.
Do and then leading off that, I mean, it's clear from the film that you like one another and that you
Mhm.
do have a bond.
Yeah.
How did you balance that and what may have naturally been a feeling of being protective with being authentic in the storytelling and yet not being exploitative of these people you care about?
Well, I think I mean, the whole process took a really long time. Years of filming, more years of editing. And, I showed them cuts, we talked about it. And, I feel like by the end I was comfortable that they were comfortable.
Anything you wish you had done differently?
Well, one thing I guess just, and this maybe would be interesting to people as part of the sort of process thing is that, I got some funding from ITVS. They used to have a links program where you partner with one of their public television stations. I'm not even sure if I looked that up recently and I couldn't see that it had ended or if they're just not doing it anymore. But I had a longer cut, and then I had to cut it down to fit the PBS 5640
Yeah.
length. And that was difficult only because it was more it costs more money to sort of go through that whole editing process to get a different cut. And then I feel like trimming that cut, I sort of had to rush through some things that had a little more spaciousness in the festival cut. So I don't know. That's one of my regrets.
Um, but I guess without that funding,
Couldn't have made the film.
right? Um, do I mean in the weight and body image have, for a long time been at the forefront of what's discussed in this country, and I think even more so now with a greater focus on health, and then with drugs like Ozempic, which was originally developed for people suffering from diabetes, and now in many pockets of areas, people use it as a just because they want to lose weight.
Yeah,
Um, even if they're not, even if their health isn't being affected dramatically. Uh,
right.
and at the beginning of the film, at least your characters seem or appear to seem accepting of their bodies and not, nobody has a perfect life, but they don't see that as something that's deleterious to them. But those views change, or they appear to change. Did you sense from the very beginning that there was more discomfort they felt than they let on? Were they putting on sort of a brave face and then over time became more authentic?
I think so. I mean, it's hard. Food. It's a hard thing for a lot of people. I mean, you have so many different types of issues one can have with food, and I think that you know, I think it is true that we shouldn't be so judgmental, for people who carry around a lot of extra weight. But at the same time, and I think Jalin says this in the film, you know, we can say we want to be okay as we are and not discriminated against, but nobody likes to be fat. Like it's not, you know, it does make life harder.
Right.
Um, and so, yeah, I think that is a reality. I think that was a true statement.
Are you still in touch with any of these women?
hmm One has sadly passed on, but I am in touch with the others, a few more, some more than
And
others.
and are they still pals?
Not so much. No, everyone's sort of gone off in different directions, moved, that kind of thing.
So, oh, just life has taken.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Do you have any questions for me?
Well, I was wondering, I guess, one thing you could maybe shine some light on that I've been asked is how do people get their films or, onto sort of the mainstream platforms like Amazon and iTunes? And do you have to go through a middleman or what is the
It
process?
depends on the platform. I Amazon uh, has a portal that's supposed to be for independent creators, and um, I'm not an expert on it, but I think you can upload your content, and then at first they took everything. I mean, subject to um, uh,
Copyright or
pornography or that sort of thing.
Mhm.
And now my sense is that there's more curation involved. I mean, w- w- many of the other platforms like Apple Movies, iTunes, Google, Tubi, others, you need to have a distribution contract with. So in those cases, I mean, that's what we're doing with your movie, um, uh, putting it up on these platforms where we have pre-existing relationships, and so we're guaranteed certain participation in the revenue the film produces. Um, what I thought you were going to ask, and maybe this is part of the question, is how do you know, are there platforms where people are more likely to watch independent films than other platforms? And
Another
what,
good question.
and what I have come to understand, which is intuitive, but it hadn't occurred to me initially, is that it's a lot easier to get someone to watch your film on the platform that's their go-to platform. So if you're somebody that automatically goes to Amazon Prime, or you're somebody that automatically goes to Apple or Tubi or whatever it is, um, you want your film to be there because it's hard enough to get somebody to pick your film out of the myriad of choices. It's even harder to get someone to be so interested in seeing your film that he or she's willing to switch platforms to find it. Um,
Right.
Also, on smaller platforms, I think there's some insecurity about um, giving credit card information and other personal details. So people, I've come to understand, find a platform that that works for them, and that's the one they want to watch movies on. So our goal has become, um, except in rare cases, to make fewer exclusive deals and more non-exclusive deals. So there will be buzz about the film because people will watch it wherever they happen to watch films. And you don't have to push people to iTunes. You just highlight the name of the film and the topic of the film. And then hopefully, when they're on the platform they usually go to, it will be suggested to them, or they'll look for it, or they'll happen upon it. That seems to be a winning strategy in this particular landscape. But, everything is changing always.
All the time. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
And like on YouTube, that's a place many people watch films. So I think it's important to be there, um, to create additional word of mouth and awareness. And hopefully, as people watch this Q&A with you, will be more inspired to look for the film on YouTube and or wherever else they like to watch movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate it. Have a good weekend, and we'll be talking.
Okay. Thanks. You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.